Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you see in the thumbnail, this is the fit part of what if Naruto was in Bleach and got Harem with Yoruichi. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description.
First Division Headquarters. Yamamoto Genryosai Shijikuni, the captain commander of all Shinigami in the Godai 13, was not having a good day. Communications between the squads out searching for the intruders running rampant in the Seirai were few and far between. The small numbers that made the invading group up made it very difficult to pin them down and capture them, thus there were long periods of time in between any correspondence about them. Besides that, the squads that were defeated would have very little to say on the matter once they were found. The good news out of this was that thus far no one had been killed in the fighting. So far the only casualties were a few beaten up Shinigami, including some of the higher UPS, including 4th seat of the 7th Division Ikanzaka Jirabu, a loss that resulted in the loss of his Shinigami powers, Ayasukawa Yumichika, the 5th seat of the 11th Division, and Madarame Mikeku, the 3rd seat of the 11th Division. There was also a hostage taken, 7th seat of the 4th Division Yamada Hanataro. The sun was going down and the Ryoka had yet to be cornered and defeated. And now there were screams and the sounds of loud splashes ringing out all over the HQ that he had gotten sick of hearing. What was going on in his Seirai? First all of the happenings with Jin, then these Ryoka proceed to run circles around his Shinigami. At this rate he would have to show himself and proceed to show the all just how an old school expulsion was supposed to be done. His thoughts were cut short when a loud splash diverted his attention to his balcony overseeing the 1st Division's area, where a large smattering of multicolored paint stained the ground. What in the dash? XXX. A Naruto clone looked up at the formerly pristine white HQ of the 1st Division. What was once a pure, white, clean wall was now looked as if a giant got drunk, drank gallons and gallons of paint, and proceeded to projectile vomit all over the sides of the building. And the poor Shinigami that were outside hanging around when the barrage happened, well, it was funny to him, and probably to the other clones too, but he was certain that they were pissed. Should I? He asked himself before looking down at the paint cans still surrounding his feet. Well, I have more chakra than the rest and this is my job, so I guess I should dispel doing what I was made to do. He started looking around before picking up 2 cans, #24, Sail Blue. Always a classic. He threw the open cans of paint at the building and made hand seals, futon, Kazige Fukiha, wind release, powerful wind wave. The clone shot a focused spiral blade of wind from its mouth that hit the cans in the air, cutting them open and spreading the paint around sparsely with the backdraft from the jutsu. The clone nodded in satisfaction when the sight of the blue paint hitting the building filled its vision. It took a deep breath. Okay, that's a lot of shots with that jutsu. I think I'm just about done. And what do you think you're doing? The clone turned around to face an old man. He was bald with scars on his head and a gray goatee and had an unassuming look about him as he stood with a cane, but he also wore a captain's haori, so that meant that age or not, this old guy wasn't a slouch. And he was a clone of his original. Picking a fight with a captain would serve absolutely no point except making things worse for Naruto and everyone else that had entered with him. The clone grinned at him sheepishly. I just thought this place could use a little touch-up. It's pretty white and dreary, isn't it? Yamamoto gave no inflection of anger or anything, he just kept staring at the clone, who decided to break the silence. Well, allow me to introduce myself. I am Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you. Yamamoto Genryosai Shijikuni. The elderly captain said, being courteous to the Naruto clone, captain commander of the Godai 13 and leader of the Shinigami forces. Naruto clone extended his hand. No kidding? I didn't think I'd meet the guy that ran this place. You've got a nice setup, but your towns outside the walls are kind of under budget, don't you think? He said, commenting on the Rakonga. Yamamoto didn't rise to the attempt at small talk. Why are you here? What do you and the other intruders hope to accomplish? I can't really tell you what the others are here for, that's their business. The clone replied offhandedly, picking at its ear. Why should it have been scared of anything? All that could have happened would have been Yamamoto dispelling it, and it was about to do that to itself anyway. I'd tell you why I'm here, but I don't even know that myself. Would you simply surrender? The old man asked the rather youthful-looking prankster. This can be resolved without the need for violence. The clone gave him a deadpan look. If we surrender, you either imprison us for life or straight out execute us, so we're not going to do that. And besides, it wouldn't matter if I did that anyway, I'm not even the original. Later Yamamoto Jiji. the clone said before disappearing in a puff of smoke, confusing the captain. Yamamoto watched the smoke from the clone disperse and then panned his eyes up at the HQ. Were the attacker really there to cause harm to the Siriti? He could have attempted an assassination attempt on him right then and there, or if nothing else at least destroyed the HQ itself, but all it did was paint the sides of the building and a few Shinigami. He didn't quite know what to make of this at the moment. He needed a second to evaluate the overall situation. With that in mind, he made his way back to his office. Now who was he going to get to clean all of this up? XXX. With Naruto, 2nd Division grounds. Where did Yoruichi go? He wondered to himself as he continued to flee from the area. It wasn't that he had trouble defeating the Shinigami that had attacked him there and he didn't feel he could win. No, his head clone from the 1st Division HQ had dispelled, and along with giving him a humorous visual that gave him a good laugh, it had also shared his point of view on a certain subject. He didn't want to come off as something that was truly dangerous because he wasn't trying to be. He wasn't here to overthrow the system, kill anyone, or anything like that. He was just bait. Something meant to divert attention away from Ichigo, Chad, Uriwa, Orium, Ganju, and to a lesser extent Yoruichi, though her leaving him high and dry like that wasn't cool at all. He was supposed to get all of the attention while they slipped past, keeping their fighting to an absolute minimum. If Naruto was perceived as dangerous and a threat, all of the others would be perceived as dangerous and a threat, and that would take the situation to a whole new level of risk. The plan was obviously to remain unassuming for the most part. As long as he was thought to be a mild nuisance, the Shinigami would think the same of Ichigo and the others, as long as they all didn't do something stupid like willingly get into a fight with someone at a significantly high level. XXX. Achoo. Ichigo sneezed loudly before lifting his Zanpakuto to block a strike from a long, segmented sword. Great, I've got to beat this Abarai Renji guy again and now I've got a cold. How many attacks was that again? Ichigo asked himself before the sword that had attacked him snaked around his defense and cut his shoulder. Gah. The man Renji, holding the sword, had tattoos all over his body, red hair put up in a pineapple-looking ponytail, and a white headband along with the usual Shinigami outfit. You're still weak. Coming here for Rukia was a mistake. You should have just cut your losses and escaped with your life. Ichigo pulled himself up using Zanjutsu for support. I don't care what you say, or how strong any of you Shinigami are, I'm going to beat all of you and rescue Rukia. He said before rushing at Renji. XXX. What are the chances that someone like that will even find them? Naruto thought to himself as he found himself running through a wooded area of the 2nd Division grounds. It felt like home for him, so he gladly took to moving along the forested area. The land of his origin was filled with lush forests and Naruto had always had a like for nature and places like this as he felt more at home there. Jumping through the trees, he never really sensed the quick motion of a Shinigami using Shunpo coming up from his blind spot, only noticing when a hard punch ricocheted off the side of his face and sent him crashing into a tree, felling it with the force he hit it. Naruto picked himself up angrily. All right, who's the dead man who did that? He was not amused. Someone had actually gotten the drop on him and he really didn't want to leave this person in one piece to tell the tale. He formed a cross-hand seal and in a puff of smoke was surrounded in a circle by a dozen clones. Tajuyo Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, multiple shadow clone jutsu. Keep your eyes open. Naruto shouted to his clones as his attacker wasn't in sight. After a short moment, the clones were all destroyed swiftly by a blur, revealing that Naruto wasn't among the circle of clones. Back a short distance away from where the attack took place, Soi Fon took cover behind a tree, so that wasn't a simple speed technique, they were all real. I wondered why they weren't moving. Futon, Senpuken, Wind Release, Whirlwind Fist. Soi Fon ducked from behind the cover of her tree as a blast of wind came from in front of her and hit it, leaving multiple tiny gashes in the bark. As she lifted her eyes after dodging, she let out a gasp as a fist came into her view. She grabbed the arm throwing the punch and jerked it to throw the attacker off balance, throwing him towards the trees where the man recovered in midair and jumped up the sides of a series of trees before coming to a stop on a branch. Naruto gave the woman below a look, sizing her up before speaking. You fight like a ninja, just better than those other guys from the HQ I was stuck inside of. That Haori also means you're a captain, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're Soi Fon. Soi Fon narrowed her eyes at Naruto. And you're the Ryoka that assaulted my headquarters so brazenly. I assume you have a death wish, picking a fight with the Onmitsukido the way you have. Naruto shrugged. No, extenuating circumstances caused me to get discovered while I was there. I was just sightseeing. He gave her a grin. I've never been to the Soi before, could you give me a tour? I'd appreciate it. Soi Fon lowered herself into a fighting stance, certainly. I'll give you a lovely tour of our holding cells for prisoners. As fun as that sounds, I think I'll pass. Naruto said, priming his muscles to get ready to move, mostly because I don't think you'll be there to keep me company if I decide to go. Goodbye, pretty lady, it was nice meeting you. His body then seemed to vanish in an after-image. Seeing him simply vanish like that brought a wide-eyed look from Soi Fon. Shunpo? How does a Ryoka that isn't even a Shinigami know that technique? She said to herself before determinedly deciding to hunt him down and beat the answers out of him herself, before she was remotely contacted. What? A meeting now? She looked at where she could still sense Naruto's decently hidden but still distinct Ryoryoku. We'll finish this soon, Ryoka. She said before vanishing towards the meeting place of the captains. XXX. 1st Division Headquarters, Captain's Assembly Hall. Yamamoto stood in front of the other captains of the Soi. It was a good thing that none of them, even Ichimaru-jin, had chosen to comment of the disheveled state of the 1st Division HQ, because as far as he was concerned at the moment there was nothing funny about the situation. Right now, on the first day of this emergency, the 13 divisions are already short one lieutenant. Now is not the time to allow the lower-ranked Shinigami to handle this mission, nor will I question Ichimaru any longer for acting alone earlier. Jin's ever-present grin showed through. Well, thanks. Yamamoto ignored his rather eccentric captain and continued, as of now, all higher-ranked officials including lieutenants must have their Zanpakuto with them at all times. You are now allowed to fight at full power. Please inform those that could not be here for the meeting. Everyone, we are about to begin an all-out war. Dismissed. Hearing that Yamamoto had dismissed them all, Soi Fon proceeded to hurry away back to her squad's HQ to relay the message to her lieutenant before leaving again. She had a Ryoka to hunt down. XXX. Hours later with Naruto. Naruto was most decidedly lost. He was certain that he had passed over into a new division's grounds because he had cleared a large wall, but he was still in a forest. Still, he had not the faintest idea where he was. He was going off of the side of the center tower of the Soi, the place he knew he had to keep away from, but he couldn't do that if he didn't even know where he was. And running away from Soi Fon had lost him his sense of direction. The sun had fallen by now as the moon hung in the sky, unable to be seen from underneath the canopy of the woods. I can't stop yet. He said to himself, I need to find some of the others and make sure they're all right, but this place is so large. My clones never even saw them before they dispelled. Oh well, I'm still busy at the moment anyway. Naruto stopped running for a moment and leaned against a tree while standing on a branch, just like old times, running from an invisible enemy in the woods. She's good, she left and then came back and found me again. So this is a Shinigami captain. Naruto sighed to himself and suddenly dropped from the branch he was standing on to evade Soi Fon, who appeared behind him and threw a kick hard enough to crack the top half of the tree she kicked. While falling, Naruto reached into his coat and pulled out an unsealed Fuma shuriken that he extended and hurled at Soi Fon while channeling wind chakra to it. Soi Fon jumped down after him and dodged the weapon, allowing it to cut the very top of the tree off. A grin of victory came to Soi Fon's face as she disappeared using Shunpo and reappeared to deliver a heavy axe kick to Naruto. However, her grin dropped when her target disappeared in a puff of smoke and in his place was the top of the tree that he had recently cut off. What? I know I hit him this time. She landed on the ground and dodged another Fuma shuriken, the same one that had been initially thrown, prompting her to look up in the air where Naruto was coming down at her with a blue orb of spinning raw energy in his right hand, Raise-nan, spiraling sphere. Soi Fon avoided it as it created a crater on the ground, kicking up dust and debris. From the dust came a series of shuriken flying at her that she was able to duck under and around before proceeding to charge into the dust cloud using Shunpo. Inside the cloud the two clashed with enough force to blow the rest of the dust away, throwing each other back, both landing on their feet, looking at each other warily. Soi Fon, still on guard, commented on Naruto's ability, "You're no slowpoke Ryoka, and those traps you set all through the wood slowed me down. You fight very similar to the Onmitsukido, who trained you." Naruto was in a ready stance, prepared for Soi Fon to take any opening on him that she could find in their downtime. "I wasn't trained by anyone in your Onmitsukido. I'm not a Shinigami. I didn't even know there were more than one until a week ago. I've got to say, the Shinigami I know of doesn't look nearly as cute as you though," he said, trying to get under her skin for an advantage. It didn't hurt that he was being honest either. Flattery will get you killed in this battle. Soi Fon said coldly, you're very unlucky. The kid gloves are off now. Yamamoto Satayako has declared a state of war against Yoruichi not too long ago. How unfortunate for you. Why? Naruto wondered. He hadn't done anything that bad, had he? He intentionally kept from maiming or killing his opponents and only stuck to petty large-scale vandalism, significant enough to cause problems, but not bad enough to put them in a state of war. What happened? Too many seated officers have been defeated. Even the lieutenant of the 6th Division has fallen to you intruders. Soi Fon responded. She would have attacked him by now, but even when expressing confusion he never lowered his guard, his body was ready to respond to any move she made. This was a true Hakuta master, but he claimed to not be a Shinigami, so his hand-to-hand style was all his own. The captains have been requested to enter the battle now, and soon Yoruichi will be exterminated. Naruto shook his head. It's only been a day. If I get taken down inside of this place, it's going to take longer than a day to catch me and finish me off. I'm not losing here. You don't have a choice in the matter. Soi Fon shouted as she came at him again. Naruto saw her begin to use Shunpo and made the boar hand seal to prepare his own countermeasure, Jinten, Muishao, swift release, shadowless flight. Naruto felt his body charged up and felt the world slow down around him, signifying his initiated technique had taken hold. Rapidly turning his head, he saw Soi Fon coming at him quickly, her body primed for another attack. This woman was no joke hand-to-hand. She was just as physically strong as him despite her petite frame, and with the speed behind her attacks he saw her as a true threat, a full-scale fight, and there was no holding back this time. The first attack from Soi Fon, Naruto moved to the side and let slide past him, allowing him to rattle off a counter spin kick that Soi Fon ducked under, rising back up to unleash a furious set of jabs at Naruto's face that he barely managed to block and dodge. She's so much smaller than me that she has to get in close in order to have a fighting chance of hitting anything, but when she does she's so fast I can barely block what she throws. Naruto wound up being tagged by one of Soi Fon's punches that sent him reeling back. Naruto growled and got back into the fight, pushing more effort into moving his muscles faster and actually doing so, catching Soi Fon off guard with a hard front kick that sent her flying through the forest. She rolled along the ground and back to her feet, glaring Naruto down. Faster than you let on, huh? Well, so am I. She said before coming at him faster than before. She saw his eyes widen as she landed a hard strike to his face, however he burst into smoke and replaced himself with a log. Soi Fon turned around, not trying to be caught with the same maneuver twice, and kicked Naruto in the head, however he once again turned into a log. This occurred 4 more times until Soi Fon found herself surrounded by half a dozen logs, glaring hatefully at the pieces of lumber until she heard a sizzling noise and noticed on a few of the logs a slip of paper burning down. Feeling something wrong, she immediately made to vacate the area, forgetting that she had lost track of Naruto for a moment, and wound up paying for it. The direction she turned towards to flee was filled with the sight of multiple Naruto clones that piled on Soi Fon and held her in place as the tags on the logs finished burning down, finally engulfing the dog pile in an explosion. Naruto watched the explosion from a decent distance, standing atop a tall tree as the smoke from the explosion wafted up above the canopy. No need to be so fancy, playground tactics can work just as well. He narrowed his eyes after a moment, except in this case they didn't. He crouched down atop the tree and focused his eyes on the forest below, trying to scout any motion at all. Come on Soi Fon, get your pretty little ass out here. I know you're not done yet. Don't make me flush you out. He said more to himself than to Soi Fon. XXX. From nearby in cat form, Yoruichi was doing the same thing Naruto was doing, standing atop a tree. However, she was watching the progress of Naruto's battle with Soi Fon. She had been all over the Siriti, keeping track of all of the others, and felt that today had been as good a first day as could have been hoped for with the circumstances, but here it could end on a sour note. Naruto was, for a lack of a better term, her pinch hitter. He was the ace in the hole in the event of a worst-case scenario, but she wasn't sure how he would do in a battle against a captain, which was the purpose she actually needed him for. He carried himself like a man that had seen countless conflicts, but aside from her short spar with him she wasn't sure of what he could do. Well, now was the time to find out, and she couldn't have picked a taller task for him to measure up with. Let's see what you're really capable of, Naruto, and let's see how much Soi Fon has grown in 100 years. XXX. Naruto vs Soi Fon. Naruto was sick of waiting atop the tree. He wasn't foolish enough to believe that Soi Fon couldn't find him. She knew exactly where he was, she was just waiting for an opening to finish him in one move. Well, he wasn't about to just sit there and let her take him down like that. Naruto seamlessly formed 5 Kage Bunshin who dropped from the sky around him into the forest and began searching for Soi Fon. Come on. I know you're there. Take the bait. He said, shutting his eyes to focus on his strategy. The second one of his Kage Bunshin was forcefully dispelled by Soi Fon. Covertly he threw a kunao over in that general direction, getting the noise to alert his other Kage Bunshin who began to head over to corner her. The second another one was dispelled, he did the same before forming more Kage Bunshin and sending them in. He was using them to triangulate Soi Fon's location, and she had no clue. Soi Fon was busy staying hidden inside of the forest, moving ever closer towards Naruto quietly. Ever since escaping his massive explosion, she had been slowly moving towards Naruto, who had taken the high ground in order to find her and engage her once more. He was no rank amateur, the conflict thus far had clearly shown her this, so she had to be careful and engage him on her terms. Then he started littering the surrounding area with those detestable clones of his. After killing one, no matter how quietly or stealthily she was able to do the deed, he would seem to be able to find her and would throw a weapon in her direction which would lead more clones to her. Whenever another one got close, she would keep killing them before she would have to fight an entire army. They simply kept coming, and they were being so intentionally noisy they were exposing her to the original, who was getting closer and closer to tagging her with those throwing knives. She would look through the canopy and swear for a moment his cold blue eyes were piercing right through her. I have had enough of this. Soi Fon thought to herself as the clones found her once again. She formed a burst of crackling yellow energy in her palm before drawing an inverted triangle in the air that formed points of energy at each corner that she fired at the original Naruto. Bakudu number 30, Shitosu Sansen, way of binding number 30, beak piercing triple beam. The beam shot off and hit the original, who saw it coming and tried to jump away, but the attack was too fast for him to escape as it caught him and threw him back, looking for a surface to pin him to. But then the Naruto burst into smoke, just like one of his clones. You took your eyes off of the prize, sweetheart. Naruto roared as he dispelled the rest of his clones and rushed at her through the cover of smoke, where he began pummeling her with fists that sent her stumbling back, shot after shot. I'm the greatest ninja ever, you don't underestimate me. Shinigami captain or not. You keep one eye on me at all times or you pay for it. Now let's finish this. Naruto formed 4 Kage Bunshin around Soi Fon, who stumbled into one that shoved her, allowing the others to close in and kick her into the air. Ziu. Ma. Ki. The original used swift release to deposit himself above the treetops where Soi Fon was being kicked up to, somersaulting down to meet her in the air. Uzumaki Naruto Renden, Uzumaki Naruto Barrage. Soi Fon recovered in the air and maneuvered accordingly to counter Naruto's attempted heel drop with a rising kick that caused the two to clash in the sky. Naruto sprung higher off of the clash of attacks and landed on top of another tree. Soi Fon landed on an elevated branch, not much lower than his position. I seriously need to go home and buy each one of the vizards something special for whipping my ass back into fighting shape. Naruto thought to himself as he found himself staring down Soi Fon once again, trying not to get enchanted by the serious, yet beautiful face of the female Shinigami captain. You're really good. That's one of my taijutsu finishes. To adjust yourself in the air like that shows incredible dexterity and flexibility. Soi Fon nodded in acknowledgement. Same to you, Ryoka. You're incredibly hard to pin down. I can see why the lower level Shinigami had such trouble dealing with you. Only a lieutenant or a captain would be able to deal with you. Naruto wanted to bow in a grandiose fashion in a flirting or teasing manner, but taking his eyes off of this woman would undoubtedly get him killed, so he simply settled for a cheeky grin. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I'm telling you this so that you know the name of the face that will be filling your dreams the next time you go to sleep. He said, drawing a kunao that emerged from his sleeve, holding it in a reverse grip. Why don't we end it here? I don't want to fight, and we seem to be at a stalemate. Soi Fon smirked. Now that I'm assured of the fact that you're at the very least adequate, I don't have to hold back anymore. She said, finally drawing her Zanpakuto. I'm still not going as fast as I can, hopefully you can keep up, but if you can't, too bad. Her smirk turned to a sneer. Jintiki Shakyosetsu, Suzumibaki, sting all enemies to death, Hornet. Soi Fon's Zanpakuta transformed from a sword into gold and black gauntlet around her right wrist and forearm that had a small chain linking it to a stinger-like gold blade twice the length of her finger on her middle finger. Feel honored to see my Shikai, initial release, to my Zanpakuta Uzumaki. Naruto's face fell significantly in mood once he felt her significantly increased Ryutsu. Oh hell, this just got way harder, didn't it? Soi Fon's response was to vanish in a shunpo again. I thought so. Naruto then replaced himself with a log that was impaled by Soi Fon's Shikai. Naruto was back in the forest, running rapidly to put distance between himself and Soi Fon. Kawarimi no Jutsu, Substitution Jutsu. A ninja's best friend for thousands of years. His developing skill at sensing Ryoryoku came in handy as he felt Soi Fon quickly closing the distance on him. Goddamn, she's even faster and stronger now, as if she needed it. He said before immediately turning an about face to block a slash from Soi Fon, who didn't stick around long enough to attack again, choosing to try getting a better angle on him. Damn it, Yoruichi, why'd you make her so fast? Why aren't you down here fighting her? He asked himself as he hit the deck to avoid another sneak attack from Soi Fon, rolling over and tossing out a handful of shuriken that hit nothing but air. Shit. He thought to himself before he found himself stomped hard into the ground by his enemy. Soi Fon watched Naruto forcefully release spittle out of his mouth from her stomp. This is the end, Uzumaki. You did well though. She poised Suzumibaki for a finishing strike on Naruto. Naruto gritted out a response beneath her heel. A real ninja is never done as long as his hands are free. Naruto's free, weaponless hand produced a kunai from his sleeve that shot at Soi Fon's head, forcing her off of him and giving Naruto a chance to recover back to his feet, where he immediately lashed out with a slash from his remaining kunai. He missed wide as she effortlessly dodged. Damn it, that's it? My gift from a bygone era, Rinnegan, Samsara I. Soi Fon's breath hitched slightly when she felt a significant shift in Naruto's power. What a release of Ryutsu. It's so high and refined. Who is this man? This Ryoka has a power on my level. She looked over at Naruto, who had a blue swirling wind surrounding his body, but the truly significant change was the pattern of his eyes. Formerly blue and full of emotion, they were now cold and emotionless. Naruto's stare seemed to pierce into Soi Fon's soul. Whether that was simply the effect of his Ryoryoku or something more, she couldn't tell. I hate using this. He said softly, its power is awesome, but I hate using it. I understand what the predecessor of this said now. Every time I activate these eyes, my mind and heart are filled with the memories of the days I've lost, and turning it off nearly drives me to tears each time. He pointed at his eyes. These eyes are my memento of my loved ones lost. He then pulled at the bandana around his neck with the leaf insignia, and this is the inspiration that tells me to move along each day. To never forget them, to always remember, but to live the way they would have wanted me to. He closed his eyes for a moment. But you don't care anything about this, do you? I understand. Soi Fon thought to herself, keeping up her game face. I understand just as you do what it's like to lose what you think is your entire world. But I must move along as well, for the day that I can be face to face with Yoruichi-sama again, to bring her to justice for her betrayal. In a whip of air, Naruto vanished from in front of her, signifying that it was time to begin again, faster. She thought before doing so herself to meet him in combat. All throughout the forest, the only decisively visible trait there was of a battle going on were the sounds of the air whipping and snapping, and the cuts that would appear on a tree every few moments as they fought all over. Soi Fon was utterly surprised at his stamina. The number of Shinigami who could move this fast and continue fighting at a high level without becoming winded in the least she could count on one hand. Naruto, on the other hand, was currently kicking himself. The reason being, that he couldn't get a free opportunity to use Mokuton, would release. He had enough time during his life to experiment with many of the elements he had at his disposal with the use of the Rinnegan. There were many Keki Genkai that he couldn't duplicate with the time he was given, but Mokuton was one he had managed to work out. It took a lot of focus for him to do anything using it, though, since he had to force it, it wasn't natural. If he took his focus off of Soi Fon for a moment to attempt a Mokuton jutsu, that wouldn't serve much of a purpose due to them being in a forest already. It might have been his last move. She may have had faster feet than he had with her mastery over Shunpo, but Naruto could match her through a combination of swift release and the use of the Rinnegan to keep track of her Ryutsu trail when he couldn't keep a lock on her body itself. As long as he had that, he didn't need to really match her speed. He was fast enough to buy himself enough time to lift his kunai to block her Suzumibaki, as he could guess where she would aim would be somewhere on his upper body. They clashed blades and Naruto almost bit down on his tongue when Soi Fon hit him with a cheap shot using her free hand. He hit her right back off of pure reflex and the two stopped once more, glaring at each other with blood running down both of their lips. Why are you in the Siriti? What do you hope to achieve? Soi Fon asked before wiping away the blood on her mouth. Naruto shrugged, I couldn't tell you. I'm just passing through as a favor to a friend. I didn't come to fight, just like I told you. Orders are to put you and the other Ryoka down no matter the cost on sight. Soi Fon said, either by capturing you or killing you, it doesn't matter as long as you are brought down. You should never have come here Uzumaki. She said sternly. Naruto smiled warmly at her, not taking any offense to her fighting him off of orders as it was actually a pretty good back and forth between them. It's okay. You have to do what you have to do. No matter the outcome, I forgive you, my little bee. Hearing him say that triggered something in Soi Fon, something that Naruto could visibly see as her face twisted angrily before her attacks became more furious than ever. Instead of simply going for his vital points, if she couldn't hit him with her blade she would attack him otherwise with her lower body. When they would clash and her attack was blocked she would use her legs, kicking Naruto in the body and face, softening him up and beginning to pummel him much like he did to her earlier. It wasn't about the victory anymore at this point. No one may call me that. Only she ever called me that. She thought as her attack continued. Naruto was beginning to take a beating. Soi Fon was seriously tenderizing him with her kicks. She seriously kicked hard, but as long as he wasn't getting stabbed he would take a few punches and kicks. He was a tough enough guy, right? Hey, that was a lot of blood from a single punch. Naruto thought to himself, alright, I'm not her personal heavy bag. If she kicks me or punches me again I'm going to make her see why that's a bad idea. Of course, Soi Fon threw another punch when they got close together and clashed blades. Naruto in response, let go of the kunao he was using to block and tucked her blade arm under his armpit, getting a gasp of surprise out of her, and then he head-butted her in the face. A fight knows no gender barriers. A bloody-nosed Soi Fon replied with a quick shot of her knee to Naruto's groin and felt some satisfaction when she felt him tense up and recoil, despite the fact he didn't voice his pain. She drove another punch right into Naruto's belly and did so repeatedly, trying to get him to let go. And he did, just not in the way she had hoped he would. Naruto let go of her blade arm just enough so that when she pulled it back he could latch onto her gauntlet wrist which he used to grab a hold with both hands on and swing around to throw her harshly into the side of a tree hard enough to fell it. XXX. Yoruichi watched the fight with increasing apprehension. This fight is getting very heated. One of them is going to kill the other at this rate. XXX. Naruto watched Soi Fon stand up. You still in one piece there, my little bee? He asked, trying to get another reaction out of her. I don't want to break you, but you're killing me here. He said honestly. Yoruichi had a place for this woman somewhere and he didn't want to hurt Yoruichi. For some reason he didn't want to hurt Soi Fon either, nothing sexist about it, he simply liked the girl. Shut your mouth. Soi Fon roared back at him. There's only one person that could ever call me that, and you sure as hell aren't her. She held out Suzumibaki out in front of herself. I'm going to kill you in 2 moves Uzumaki, so get all of your regrets lined up in mind. Naruto was once again fully disarmed and had his fingers twitching, trying to time an opportunity to unseal something else before Soi Fon could reach him. What would be faster, his hands or her shunpo? A slight hitch in Naruto's breath let Soi Fon know he was making his move and she rushed towards him. Come on, give me anything here. He thought to himself as his hand reached the inside of his coat. However, before he could unseal anything Soi Fon was right in his face and had stabbed Naruto in his chest. The only thing keeping the blade from going too deep was his arm crossing over his chest to reach in his coat. Naruto let out a gasp and finished unsealing a weapon, a massive shuriken that he threw at Soi Fon once she got back out of his range upon seeing his weapon. Naruto threw it at her and watched it pass through an afterimage of her, before he slumped against a tree holding his chest wound. His eyes widened when he saw a butterfly-shaped stamp appear on his wound. What the hell? Nijeki Kesatsu, death in 2 steps. Soi Fon said, her voice echoing out from around him in the forest. That was step 1. Only 1 step remaining Uzumaki. Goodbye. She said smugly, as if he was already dead and buried. Naruto grit his teeth. I'll be damned. Blood leaked out from his mouth due to his injuries from the stab wound as he clapped his hands together and expanded them, a dark sphere of energy forming in between his hands, I'll be damned if I go out like this. Chibaku Tensei, heavenly body bursting from the earth. He threw the sphere into the sky and watched as it began pulling pieces of the surrounding landscape up towards it in the form of an orb. Parts of the forest and the ground underneath it started getting sucked up towards the ball of gravity. Soi Fon found herself jumping between pieces being sucked up towards what was looking to be a large compressed orb. She was eventually caught between flying pieces of debris and found herself caught between them as she was stuck to the large ball in the air. No. I won't lose. Naruto heard her scream of defiance and let out one of his own, right back at you my little bee, now get out of here. He let his hands drop from using Chibaku Tensei and extended them out away from his body as if he were pushing something up and away. Shinra Tensei, heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent god. XXX. Yoruichi watched as the massive sphere of debris moved away from where it was hanging in the air to high over the Siriti. Oh my god. She said as she watched it hit the barrier above the stronghold and begin breaking apart. She jumped down and began running towards Naruto swiftly. XXX. Naruto's hands were still outstretched, holding the Shinra Tensei, pushing the monster ball of debris back into the barrier as if he were trying to punch it through and throw Soi Fon from the Siriti. Blood began leaking from Naruto's nose but he still held it, using enough force to shove that damn thing up and out of here is killing me. Naruto stop. Yoruichi bounded up to him and head-butted him in the side, knocking him down and getting him to drop his jutsu. She quickly looked up to see the giant ball drop from the sky as it fell apart to the ground. After getting over her shock she turned back to Naruto who was still down breathing heavily, blood trailing from his mouth and nose as well as from the wound Soi Fon left. Speaking of the wound Soi Fon left, upon seeing the butterfly mark still on it Yoruichi let out a sigh of relief. Okay, she's still alive. Her shock returned when she saw Naruto getting back to his feet despite his injuries and haggard appearance. What are you doing? Are you insane? Stop moving. Can't stop. Naruto said, I can't stay here. I need to leave, before Soi Fon comes back. If we keep fighting I'm going to have to kill her Yoruichi-chan I swear. He almost dropped to his knee but caught himself. I need to rest. He let out a cough that sprayed blood and let his Rinnegan fade. Where do I go? Yoruichi could see how tired he was. Sukyaku Hill. There is a cave on the side of the cliff. We need to get you there to rest. It's near the Senteikyu. Naruto looked at the cat weakly. I can't go there. It's too close, I'll attract attention. It's a secret hideout stupid. Yoruichi said snappishly before suddenly transforming. I'll get you there. Just hold on to me. Whether he did it so easily and without dispute because he was so tired or because she was naked she did not know as she pulled out a long beige bone-like wand that she used as a hang glider once it expanded and took shape, allowing them to take flight. I'll be fine with a little rest. Naruto said softly, ignoring the voice in his head that was wondering just where she got that thing from. Just a good night's sleep and I should be good to go. He insisted as he held onto Yoruichi tightly enough to avoid falling off. Sorry about the blood. Yoruichi let out a small laugh. It's okay, there's a hot spring where we're going. Her face turned somewhat thankful as she looked over her shoulder. Thank you Naruto. What? He said not understanding why thank me. Yoruichi looked back at the signs of Naruto's fight with Soi Fon, for leaving her alive, for not actively trying to kill her. She's still very important to me. Couldn't kill. He trailed off almost losing consciousness. What? Yoruichi didn't understand what he had just tried to say. Naruto spoke slightly louder this time. Couldn't kill her even if I wanted to Yoruichi-chan. She reminds me of me, back when I first realized how alone I was. Yoruichi looked back at him again to see that he had shut his eyes. She shook her head and continued to fly them towards the hideout. Thank you. She said again to him. Sleep with me. Naruto mumbled lowly. A tick mark appeared on Yoruichi's head. I guess you must be dreaming or something. No dream. He said firmly, yet weakly, seriously. I want you to sleep with me. And I'm not even joking or trying to be funny, not even a little bit. Yep. She insisted, choosing to ignore his last comment. Just a stupid dream. XXX. Soi Fon pulled herself out of the rubble produced by Naruto's Chibaku Tensei collapsing and falling from the sky. Her body was covered in cuts and bruises, her captain's haori was torn and her outfit underneath was rather beaten up as well. She looked around and tried to feel for Naruto's Ryoryoku but found nothing. With an angry look on her face, she began limping slowly towards the 4th Division headquarters to find someone to heal her. She was not going to let Uzumaki just slide with that lucky break. She had him, and as long as he was in her thoughts, that crest on his chest would not fade, and once Uzumaki touched that mark again, Uzumaki Naruto was a dead man. As long as her will to keep the crest going held, he was one step away from death. This isn't over, Uzumaki. We'll meet again. You won't escape the Siriti Eye, and you will fall by my blade. I won't accept anything less than that. You are my target, and I will not let you slip out of my grasp. XXX. The next morning, underneath Sukyaku Hill, Naruto's eyes cracked open to find himself surrounded by bedding in what appeared to be a replica of the training ground under Urahara's shop and the warehouse of the Vizards. He sat up painfully, holding his chest where he was stabbed. Yoruichi-chan. Naruto called out to no one's response. He got up and began walking around looking for the beautiful woman. Come on, Yoruichi-chan, if you're going to leave, you've got to tell someone what's going on. Eventually he gave up looking and went to the entrance of the hideout, where he made a clone. Stay here in case Yoruichi-chan comes back. The clone saluted him and went back inside. As he looked out from the sheer cliff drop, he thought out loud, you know, I have a perfect idea of what I could use this place for. He made 3 more Kage Bunshin, who wordlessly ran inside and left him looking down. He shrugged to himself and fell from the precipice to the forest below. He didn't really want to get into any kind of fight today. He had enough of fighting last night from Soi Fon. There was no need for any more anarchy on this day. He didn't need to attract attention now that the worst case scenario had already happened. They were perceived as a legitimate threat if what Soi Fon said to him last night was true. He had 2 objectives today. First, to find out where the others were, because if they were hurt, caught, or dead, well, they were his only real objective on this mission of his. The second objective was to see how everything was going at large, the big picture. What was going on from the GOTI 13 side of the coin? How were they going to handle all of this? Were they going to send out extermination squads now? He needed to know these things, and he needed to find the others to relay the information. Getting caught and garnering attention would serve no purpose. This was strictly behind the scenes. It was time to show everyone exactly why he was able to exist around the world for as long as he had, and he would do that by not showing anyone anything at all. The only person that might be able to find him would be Soi Fon, and he knew that if he was still feeling the effects of last night, she damn well was also, so he wouldn't have to worry about her for now. It was time to go dark. XXX. After moving about the Siriti Eye for a while, Naruto heard the sounds of another fight taking place nearby. As he neared another squad HQ, he saw a rather small girl with her hair done up in a bun engaging a blonde man with a bang over his eye. What the hell is going on? He wondered to himself as the fighting began, the girl releasing her Zanpakuto at the man. Naruto felt something amiss in the environment, and it seemed to be coming from a sword pinned to the wall. He noticed the multiple Shinigami in attendance had their full attention on the fight between 2 of their fellow comrades, while others looked between the fight and the sword in the wall. Naruto quickly formed the tiger seal, hoping that any decent censors either weren't there, or were preoccupied with stopping the fight that was currently happening. Mai Saigakura no Jutsu, hiding with camouflage jutsu. Naruto's body turned completely transparent as he snuck around the panic, keeping to the early morning shadows. Eventually finding his way to the roof just as the fighting died down, with the child captain stopping the fighting, Naruto reached down without looking, as he didn't want to risk being seen, and grabbing a hold of the sword in the wall. Taking a Shinigami's Zanpakuto was no small task, even against the weaker ones. They kept a hold on them religiously. Naruto felt an influx of Reishi running through the sword and looked around, just seeing nothing and the feeling of something amiss in the air. He noticed the others looking at the roof where his hand was and thought he had been caught before he realized what they were saying. They thought there was a body pinned under that sword, Genjutsu. And it's really strong. Who cast that illusion? He looked back over the edge to see the Shinigami all talking about the man, Captain Aizen Saoshik, being murdered and staring at the sword in the wall. They're still under the Genjutsu, all of them. Should I try to break it? He asked himself, placing his hands in the ram seal, planning to force out enough chakra to completely break the illusion over everyone before stopping himself. No, all that would do would be to alert even the poorest Shinigami to my position, and these guys are all at least lieutenants. I can sense it. If it's strong enough to catch all of them, do I even have enough in me to break it? How was I never even under it? I suck at illusions. He closed his eyes. Something's not right. I can't stay here to think about it. I need to leave. XXX. Sukyaku hideout. Oi. Yoruichi-chan, I'm back. Naruto yelled as he entered the hideout and noticed a bandaged Ichigo in bed and Yoruichi in human form. They both noticed him walk inside. My clone heard that Ichigo beat a captain. Way to go, kid. Yoruichi looked at him and smiled. Well, it appears that you did heal rather quickly. That's good. She blinked. Wait, how did you get up here? You can't use Hoha to walk up here in the Siritii. Naruto nodded. I know, for some reason I can't use my gravity techniques to walk up here either or stick to walls. It's really hard to channel chakra in this place for some reason. Is it like that for everyone? Yes. Yoruichi said, the gates surrounding the Siritii prevent you from gathering Reishi under your feet to walk on the air. But how did you get up here without me? Naruto grinned and flexed an arm. I climbed. Naruto looked at the mask on the ground near Ichigo's body and noted that it looked extremely familiar. What's with the mask? Yoruichi looked at Naruto seriously with her golden eyes exuding a serious aura. That's not important right now, Naruto. She looked at Ichigo and held up the glider wand. Anyway, this is how I got you up here. Ichigo took it from her hands and looked at it. So with this you just put your spiritual energy in this and fly. Yep. Yoruichi said proudly, it's a very unique, one-of-a-kind artifact. You should feel honored. How do you even have anything like this? Ichigo said somewhat accusingly, you shapeshift, you heal wounds, and you have something like this. Yoruichi, who are you? Naruto chimed in, I'll tell you. She's sexy. Be serious, you idiot. Ichigo shouted at Naruto. The conversation was broken when a massive oppressive aura set over everyone in the hideout. This Ryutsu. It's him. Ichigo said, getting the thought of the man who had defeated him in Karakura town and took Rukia in his mind. Naruto looked around as he clearly felt the power as well, but having fought Soi Fon last night, a captain's Ryutsu was something that he had gotten a taste of already. This is the guy that beat you in Karakura. I can see why he sleepwalked through you then. It's coming from the Senteikyu. Yoruichi said, wondering why Byakuya had felt the need to release so much power as a show of force when Ichigo stood up, charging for the exit. Where do you think you're going? Ichigo turned around and snapped at her. Hanataro and Ganju were going to the Senteikyu. If I don't go, then who's going to save them? He transformed the wand and flew off on the hang glider, leaving Naruto and Yoruichi alone in the hideout. That dumb brat. Yoruichi yelled in exasperation as she watched him fly off. Naruto sighed, am I going to have to climb the rest of the way up now? Yoruichi ran a hand through her hair and paced around. We need to go get him, Naruto. Byakuya is going to slaughter him if he goes out as he is. You know it and I know it. How did he beat a captain? Naruto asked her. If he had fought Soi Fon, she would have killed him so fast it wouldn't have been funny. Yoruichi looked at him. He more or less outlasted the juggernaut captain of the Godi 13. It was quite a battle, but that's not important. We need to stop him. Nodding in understanding, Naruto spoke as he walked with her. Yoruichi, I have to ask if you know anyone in the Siritii who uses illusions. We'll talk about it after we save Boy Wonder. Omake, Naruto alone in the Rukanga, day 3 of 46. Naruto still had a long way to go and decided to walk through the 55th district instead of motor on through for a short break, also because growl. He was hungry. Man. I'm so hungry. He looked around to find somewhere to eat when a heavenly smell hit his nostrils. He sprinted over to a nearby stand, almost bowling over several people in the process, and threw back the curtain. 10 bowls of beef ramen and keep 'em coming. Naruto yelled cheerfully, his salvation found. Wow. The man behind the counter said, that's a lot of money. You got the cash to pay for that much food? Naruto immediately shoved a mass of bills in his face. I don't know what that is, but we don't use that currency. Naruto looked at the money in his hand before going wide-eyed. So I'm broke? No, I'm broke. I haven't been broke in forever. He cried anime tears. The vendor shook his head apologetically. Sorry, no money, no food. Them's the breaks. Come back when you manage to scrounge something up. Naruto walked out of the stand, his stomach continuing to bitch him out about getting some food in it. What can I do to get money? I'm going to have to eat all the way to the gate, so a quick fix might not do it. He shoved his hands in his pockets and a light bulb went off in his head when he pulled out a notebook. I wonder. He fished through his inside coat pockets and pulled out a labeled scroll. Yes. I've still got all of my old manuscripts. Now I need to find a publisher and I'm made all over again. Day 7 of 46. Naruto sat next to 3 towering stacks of bowls as he polished off another. Oi! Fill it up again, I've got a demon in my belly and it demands more ramen. The vendor gleefully filled it up and handed it over. Whatever you say, Uzumaki-sama. So. He pulled out an orange book and held it in front of Naruto's face. Can I get your autograph? Naruto blinked and slurped up the noodle in his mouth. Man, this book sold like nobody's business. Soul Society has good print and distribution companies. He shrugged and happily signed it before returning to eating while the vendor ran outside quickly. Uzumaki Naruto is in my stand, eating my ramen, and signing my book. Naruto heard the crowd outside break into a tizzy and formed a cross seal, depositing a clone of Naruto in the seat next to him. Stay here, sign my autographs, eat this guy's ramen. He said, holding the bowl he was still eating. I'm keeping this though. This is mine. The clone gave Naruto a hearty thumbs up. Sure thing, boss. He turned around and let Naruto slip out the back while the first mass of fans flew through the curtain holding up books and raving about the story. Okay, single file line, hot women first, and in order of descending attractiveness. Then the men can get autographs if I still feel like it.